John, welcome to Millionaire University. So happy to have you here today. We're going to talk all things sales funnels, helping people more effectively sell their courses, their programs, what have you. Thanks for joining us today, all the way from the other side of the pond.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Delighted to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, why don't you give us a little insight into, well, obviously, we're going to talk about the logistics, what you do, how you can help people to increase revenue
hmm
when they are selling digital products, courses. Give us a little insight into you, just kind of the coming up story and how you got into what you're doing right now.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that we can talk through, stuff that we teach, is transferable. The nuance is different. If you're
hmm
selling e-commerce or SaaS, or if you're selling services, the same things work, but they just all work slightly differently. But I can kind of say which bits are useful across. But how did I get
Cool.
started? So I had run a charity for many years where I'd helped get people into physical activity. So people from hard to reach groups, cancer patients, over 65s, what have you. And I realized I had a lot of friends who were running businesses online and were having a lovely time traveling the world. And what I was doing was very worthy, was great, but it was not fitting with my lifestyle goals. And so I decided to see, could I do the same thing for people selling something online?
hmm
And I started off, I was doing work building funnels for people in e-commerce or to selling software online or service businesses or any of these kind of things. And I really decided to narrow down just to courses because I'm a massive fan of online courses myself. I've taken tons of them. I find them super helpful. Incredible value. Like
hmm
instead of paying somebody one-to-one thousands of pounds, you pay like $100 or $200 and you get access to their whole insights and all of their resources and everything like that, which is great. And also I really like it because it's not got a cap on capacity. So we're really good at helping people to make a lot more money. But there's some businesses where if you sell too much more of it, there's like a limit. Like you
hmm
you sold all of it. Well, now you can't fulfill on all of it, and that's kind of trickier. Whereas with courses, it's like unlimited. You can just sell as many of them as you like.
Yep. Well, and I think I mentioned this before we started recording. We've had this kind of like roller coaster with courses too. You have a lot of people who anytime something works, it starts to become watered down a little bit, where everybody's trying to have a course just for the sake of having one, right? And I've always been of the opinion that it's so much more powerful for it to be a scaling method or something that you are using because it fulfills that need. I have too many people who want this. I have too many clients. I can't facilitate anymore. So this is helping me go one to many. And I think not that it's a terrible approach, but to come in initially just starting with a program, I think it can work. It just, you run into the problems of creating something in a vacuum and not even really then getting to the point where it's time to market it, right? Then you don't know how to market it because you just put some information into a platform, into a program. You don't really like have a system or you don't have how that really serves people. It's just information. So
Yeah,
I love it. In working with people, having calls with people who want to work with me and get my services, there are still so many people who are not able to either afford it, they're just not ready for it, and so it's valuable to have a course as an option. I'm getting asked quite frequently lately, "Do you just have a program?"
hmm
So there's a lot of people out there who still wanna DIY, they wanna learn it, they're not quite at that point where they can justify the expense of the high ticket coach. So, yeah, I love that it's still a very viable business model, and they're not going anywhere even with the advent of AI.
yeah. Well, definitely not. The certainly so far. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff with AI is incredibly helpful for course creators, like unbelievably helpful in terms of being able to plan out your actual content yourself, actually create it. But I think one of the things that people start to crave when there's so much that's automated and there's so much with AI is like some kind of personal connection as well. So even if it's like,
Mhm,
okay, you're not actually got the one-to-one with somebody, but you've still got a real person with a real personality that you can be learning from. And most of
mhm.
our clients are people who started out by building the audience first and sharing stuff a lot on YouTube and building up a personal brand. And then their audience starts to say, well, could you sell me a course? Could I learn more of this from you in like a structured way?
Yeah.
Um, and for those guys, once you've built up trust with somebody, you've got an audience of thousands or tens of thousands or millions or whatever of people. Those people like they want to learn from you. They don't just want to learn
Mhm.
from something kind of amorphous.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this because I love that there's phases to this, and really just I'm glad we set the stage for people understanding. This is really a scaling tool. This is your ability to maximize income, maximize profits without having to do every single thing one-on-one without having to sell every product personally in the DMs, however you're selling. And this is still just as effective, if not more so effective now, because we have really great, powerful tools that help us automate more of the conversation. So let's just talk about that. With having established this is really for people who have the audience and they're running into that pain point, that problem of, I can't do this all manually anymore. How can I make more money without more output? So
Mm.
talk us through like the first things that we need to understand, maybe paint the overall picture of what we're going to talk about, and then we can go into the nitty-gritty of like what they need to do at each stage.
Yeah, and do you want me to focus specifically on just how this works when you're selling courses, which is obviously what we're doing for our clients day in, day out, or try and like broaden it out to a wider audience a little bit?
I think stick with courses, and then if we can like maybe if you find little ways where it's, yes, this is universally applicable. But I think if we can just kind of if we can see the very precise picture, then
Yeah.
I think we can find the little, offshoots where it
Cool.
applies to everyone.
Sounds good. So there's basically, when you're working with course creators, they are first and foremost, they love creating stuff. So they love creating often YouTube videos or podcasts or some kind of content. They're very, very good at that. And they also love creating courses. And it's almost like a compulsion. They just can't help themselves. And what I'm trying to get people to do is say, well, what about if you actually tried selling more of them? Instead of just making more courses all the time, on always creating content, what if you actually tried to get the audience that you've built to buy the courses that you've built? And because of that, with most of them, it's possible to somewhere between about 2 to 5 times their revenue, because they're just missing that third leg of the stool where they don't have the step for converting the audience into buying very effectively. So there's 3 parts that it breaks down into. The first part is getting people from the audience onto the email list. Email is still by far the most effective way for actually selling, especially with these low ticket kind of offers. So we're talking like DIY courses. They might be from a $27 ebook up to maybe a $500 course with some group coaching calls, something like that. That kind of thing, email is absolutely perfect for. Selling directly from social, from YouTube, whatever, is not nearly as good. So getting people onto the email list. Second thing is, how do you actually convert that email list into sales? And then the third part is, how do you make sure those people who are buying from you are buying as much stuff as they would like to get? How do you make it easy for them to get everything? And then each of those steps kind of breaks down into more parts as well. So we can start off, if you like, with going through like, how do you actually grow the email list? But it's kind of up to you. You tell me.
Yeah, let's dive into that first step. And you can give us like strategies, tactics that you feel like are working right now in terms of, or it can be more of the high level, understanding what they need to know to get people onto the list, the technical and more of the strategy too.
Cool. So the basic idea is, if you are creating content, you've got an audience somewhere, whether it's your website or YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, anywhere it is, right? You've got views. A percentage of those people, normally up to about 5% of those people, will opt in to your email list if you set it up correctly. But if you just leave it to chance and you hope that people will go find some way to get into your list, then about 0.25% of people will get on there. The ones who are really determined, who really want to go hear from you. So we're looking at up to about 20 times increase of opt-in, somewhere in that kind of range. The normal is somewhere around 2 to 10. That's kind of the average. So the way that you can do that is, and this is not, none of this is like total rocket science, but a lot of people are not doing the fundamentals. So the first thing is, have a great lead magnet. So have something that is offered to people to get them to opt into your email list. And that could be a free guide, which is fine. That's nothing wrong with that. That's definitely better than not having a lead magnet at all. But the kind of things that we see that are working great is a resource of some sort that people can get use from instantly without having to do any real work themselves. They don't have to read the guide and learn something. They just have to use this tool, this resource, and it's like makes them better at the thing instantly. So for example, we had a client who was selling digital painting courses, and he had an opt-in that was 11 free portrait paintbrushes. So he was teaching a blog post, let's say, about writing a blog post about drawing portraits. And then you could download these free portrait paintbrushes. And instantly, by having those, you're now better at doing digital painting. You didn't have to learn that much. You just download the tool,
Right.
upload it into Photoshop or whatever it is they're working in, and you're better. It's like, great. Anything that kind of works like that, a free tool, a free a checklist, maybe some kind of spreadsheet that does a calculation for you, something like that. That's the absolute ideal. Not always possible, but that's like the ideal to kind of work towards. We have free guides as well that we give out because they are helpful, but I found the kind of the shorter stuff, the checklist stuff, that works really well. So that's one of the first things. Second thing is that everyone should really turn off double opt-in. And there's a reason why all the email service providers, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, etc., have got double opt-in. It's because it improves deliverability because you don't want to be sending emails to email addresses that don't really exist. But you can do that yourself better by giving people a chance to stay on your list and see which ones are actually clicking and opening the emails instead of giving them just one chance. That's what happens. It's like someone opts in. I had this client, Shona, right? She was having these people, they were opting in, and if they didn't click that one link in that one email, they would never hear from her again. And I don't know about you, but I don't check all my emails. I don't get through all of them. I don't manage to get through everything. And occasionally I might miss some stuff like that. So when we turned off double opt-in, her number of email subscribers per month doubled because she didn't have that in place. Now, obviously, some of those email addresses aren't right or aren't ones that people are going to open the email regularly or someone's put a typo, whatever. That's true. But overall, that led to about a 20 to 30% increase in revenue for her. And then every so often, every couple of months, you could do a cleanup of the list and get rid of the ones who haven't opened anything in a few months. So that's like a second one. Another one to do is basically take that lead magnet that you've come up with and put it everywhere. Just most people make it quite difficult to find it. It's somewhere, but you have to go searching for it. So if you've got blog posts, have it at the top, have it in the middle, have it at the bottom, make an ad for it, make 3 different ads for it that you can put in different places that look visually appealing and fit in. Put it in the sidebar, have a pop-up on the website. I know they're kind of annoying, but they work.
Just make it easy for people. Yeah, they do work. They still work. Absolutely. I grew my first email list accidentally with a pop-up. Like my husband set it up and it was a couple years later. And he's like, you have 1,200 people on a list. And I said, from what? It's like from your pop-up. So just do it. You might as well, right? Like, I think we're so worried about being annoying or having those things, but it's like, wouldn't you rather be a little bit annoying and grow the lead? And it's kind of like the double opt-in thing, right? Like, well, I don't want to get a bad score with my email deliverability. Well, I'd rather get 30 people who are opting in and then later don't open than like not get those 30 people because they missed one email. You'd rather have the pop-up and get 10 out of 11 people and have the one be like, that's obnoxious.
Yeah.
It's just not that serious.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an unsubscribe button. It's like, and plus if they subscribed, then they presumably wanted to be on the list. Like they wanted to hear from you at least once, so.
Yeah. I love that. So put it everywhere. I think you're right that so many people create these, and it's the same with the concept of create a course. Oh, well, I love the creation process. I'll go create another one. A lot of times we don't even like see and put things out enough to know if they're working. So you might say, oh, my lead magnet doesn't convert. Nobody wants it. Well, where is it? Oh, it's in this tiny little corner on my website. So you have to go from my Instagram to my website, happen to be in the right corner, and then you'll get my lead magnet. And it's really just a matter of like, make it easier. Make everything easier for your people.
Yeah, 100%. And the same thing on social media as well. Like what we found is people will not mention the lead magnet in the video. So first of all, do that. Tell people that you have this lead magnet they can opt in for. And then if they've got the lead magnet link, it'll be in the description, like 30 lines down under the timestamps or something like this. And it's like, put it above the fold. Put it where people don't even have to click more. And it's a massive difference. Put it in the pinned comment, put it at the top of the description, make it really simple, mention it in the video a couple of times, not at the very beginning, but like, a minute or two in, and then again at the end. And it's like, you can get 4 or 5. I've got a friend who's got some videos getting 10% opt-ins on YouTube. And like using this, we helped someone turn their email list from, I think they were getting like 500 opt-ins a month, and it went up to 10,000 because they had a big audience and they just weren't doing this. And it's just like, that's a lot of money. Those email addresses are worth a lot of money to you, and you're just not collecting them.
Right. Okay, so be a little more bold with putting the lead magnet out there. Don't just create it and let it sit there. Same with the products you're creating, the offers you have. Reference them a lot. And I just want to interject here too, like just a little side hack with Instagram specifically. We have these AI bots. Like I set these up for my clients with ManyChat, where literally at the even in the call to action, have them comment the word and it can automatically zap them over the
Mhm.
opt-in for the freebie. Don't like even that makes it easier for people. Don't say, "Oh, go to the link in my bio," and make them go find it. Like literally just deliver it, put it into their inbox if at all possible. If you're using that platform, it makes a ton of difference. And make sure you're collecting email too. That's my other qualification. I work with a lot of influencers who just will immediately give the freebie and they're not getting an email. I'm like, that didn't help us at all. We want to be collecting their email. You just got yourself a fun DM, but like let's collect information from people. Anyway, so yeah, just wanted to give that little micro strategy in this conversation because I think that's really helpful to people who are happen to be on those platforms.
Yeah,
So
Instagram's a funny one,
continue
right?
on.
Because you can't put links in the same way that you can
Yeah,
on YouTube or your website or whatever else.
right.
So you got to
Yep.
use, but ManyChat's great. Like it
Mhm.
allows you to have that flexibility. Some people find it tricky to set up,
Mhm.
but it's like it's not massively complicated, but it's not super simple either. So
Yeah.
I guess that's why you and
That's
I are
why I
doing
have
it for people,
clients.
right?
Yeah. Because I'm like, "Oh, it's so easy," but I've been doing it for, like, 8 years, I was using it
Right.
with Facebook back in the day, so I'm like, "This is a walk in the park," but I can totally understand anything new can feel really overwhelming and complicated, and we don't wanna make mistakes. Okay, I love that. So we wanna make sure we're being a lot more bold with even just the very beginning step with people, and if we miss that, it's gonna make a lot of this other stuff not as impactful either. We
Hmm.
wanna have it's the numbers game, right? We want more people on the list. So, is there anything more you wanna add to that, or are we ready to move to the next
No,
stage?
ready to move on. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Where do we go next? What
So
do we
the
need to
next thing
optimize
is we've
next?
got this bigger email list. Now we're going to actually make some sales to it. And I find this fascinating. So I talk to people all the time and I look through their businesses and I look at their revenue and they show me their revenues over the last year. And I go, oh, look, what was this big spike here? They go, oh, that was Black Friday. I was like, oh, what did you do at Black Friday? It's like, I did an email promotion. I told everybody about my courses and I gave a discount. It's like, that's great. Okay, interesting. And then what's this other big spike over here? I was like, oh, I launched a new course. It's like, oh, how did you launch it? It's like, I sent emails out and I told people about it and I made a lot of sales. I was like, that's great. Okay, what's these dips here where you didn't make it very many sales at all? It's like, were you sending out email promotions then? It's like, no, I wasn't sending out. What if you sent out email promotions more often? And people are so resistant to it. They're like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't possibly do that.
Only on holidays.
People will unsubscribe and they will hate me and they think I'm too salesy and too spammy. And it's like maybe, but like, what if you sent emails that were good?
Mhm.
Like, instead of there seems to be like everyone has this false dichotomy in mind where it's like either I send aggressive salesy emails and everyone hates me and unsubscribes, or I send no promotion at all and I don't make any money. And it's like, but there is a third option. We live in a world where there are more than two options. And the third option is send good emails that are promoting something. We call these nurture promos. So we're trying to nurture the email list while promoting something to them at the same time.
Mhm.
And we've got like a whole structure of the way that we do it. I can kind of give a brief overview. Um, 'Cause I don't want to like go on for an hour just talking about emails, but we do basically a week's warm up emails, and we use a structure called pain agitation solution, which anybody who has done anything in copywriting will have come across that kind of concept. So we have a pain email,
Mhm.
an agitate email, and a solution email, where we're not promoting the course at all. We're just talking about the actual problem and getting people thinking about
Mhm.
that problem. And then the solution email, we're actually just giving like a free tip that might be able to they can implement in like 10 or 15 minutes. And then in the promotional week, we do gain, logic, fear. So the gain is like an announcement email about what's going on. The logic email is using more stats and statistics and facts and testimonials and like information and data. And then the fear email is more emotional. So
Mm.
that's more about like, okay, maybe you're worried about whether you're going to be able to succeed at this, or you're worried about whether this is going to be right for you, or you might be feeling these emotions, whatever your audience is, you think your audience is feeling, you kind of talk to that. And then you have going, going, gone, which is a very simple kind of promotional email with just urgency and scarcity going. The discount that we're
Mhm.
offering this week is going to end in 48 hours, 24 hours, 3 hours. And you have some testimonials and other information in there as well. And we sometimes put some other emails in the sequence as well, but like that's the kind of the basic structure to it.
Mm.
And we had a client, Lucy, who was in the selling language courses. She'd been averaging maybe a few $1,000s a month, something like that. And she had been growing her email list. She was working on that, but she wasn't really doing anything with it yet. She just knew she should have an email list. And she got that quite big, like 100,000, 150,000 people. And so by sending out email promotions, so what she said to me when we first talked was she was making 3,000 a month, and she said, "I'd really like to get to 10,000 a month." And I laughed at her, and I didn't mean to, but I just laughed so hard because I was like, "Well, you're not going to get to 10,000 a month. There's no way you're going to make less than 30,000." And I
Mm.
was wrong. She never hit 30,000. She went straight to 50,000, and she's
Wow.
made more than that every month since then. And because she
Mm.
just didn't realize how powerful, like she had this big audience, she had courses, she had an email list, but she just hadn't done the promotion, hadn't sent that
Yeah.
out to the email list. And not everyone's got an email list of 150,000, right? But like, I've got an email list myself of like 1,000 people, and we run a $1 million business off it. So it's like, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that big. If you're selling stuff that's more expensive, you're selling services, then you can make a lot of money from a small email list because those people are spending more money with you. Courses is just
Right.
a much bigger numbers game because it's much lower ticket offers.
Hmm. Okay, I love that. I wanna dive into I know you said I don't wanna do a whole hour talking about email
We could talk
marketing, but
about it
I
as much as
know
you like, but I didn't want to just
yeah.
take over and go for it because I
Yes.
will.
No, I wanna break that down because 'cause I'm like, if I'm hearing this and I'm not really super familiar and you just threw out some of those terms, I really
Yeah.
wanna dive into a little more of that. And then before we even get into that, so how often does it just kinda depend on the business, how often you're running these promotional emails? Because I know, like you said, there's a perfect world where you can have both. The emails are well written, you're being very strategic with it. Also, there's always gonna be this fear of, like, we don't wanna run a promo every single month, or are you? Like, d is that smart?
Mm,
Is there different
every single
tactics,
month.
different types? Okay, is it
Yeah.
always a price thing? Is it adding bonuses? Like, I think people have called them, like, pressure launches, right? It's not this full-blown, heavy-handed launch where it's in your content and everything. It might just mostly be primarily email. So, yeah, when you're doing it monthly, are you adding much variety, or is it kinda the same promo every month?
So different courses, right? So most course
Mm,
creators have got multiple courses. So we suggest they have at least 3 and ideally 6 or more. Because then if it's
okay.
6, you can just only promote the same thing every 6 months. And then that's
Mm,
like great. That's not very frequently, and a lot of new people have joined the list, and everything's kind of works very smoothly from there.
yeah.
But yes, at least one a month. We've tried doing 2 of these promotions a month, and what we found was it was a little too much for the audience, and people did start to unsubscribe and become less engaged. We will sometimes do one promotion and one flash sale as well.
Mhm,
If someone's running something in, and it's you asked, is it with discount? Is it with bonuses? Yes and yes. So basically,
mhm.
all of the tactics that work, we want to do as many of them as we can. Now,
Yeah.
there's lots of other stuff that work, like doing a webinar and a challenge, and having a Facebook group that's based around that. All of that stuff is very time consuming.
Right.
Whereas writing an email promotion, it's like the 80/20 rule, right? An email promotion is the most efficient way of getting the sales in. So if you do an email
Mhm,
promotion every month, that's your top thing. If you go, right, I want to take it further, or I want to sell a higher ticket thing that maybe I can't sell through email, great. Well, let's add a webinar in as well. And
mhm.
if you're selling something even higher ticket, you might have to add in some one-to-one sales calls with people or something. But what we're doing with people is like, let's just do one of these promotions every month, and then apart for the rest of the month is sending out useful content via email.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna ask that too. We're not just only emailing when there's a promotion. Do you feel like a lot of clients come in and they're not even I mean, I have a lot that aren't even using their list. They're like growing one because 'cause they're supposed to.
Mm.
They're following the rules, but there's really not a lot of strategy with even consistent emailing. I'm even guilty of that, let's be honest. I'm really good at just, like, running a promotion, and sometimes it just kind of falls by the wayside, and I think I have a hard time. I would love your advice on this. Writing content and just providing value because my brain always wants to go into, well, what's the call to action? Or like, what am I selling? How am I
Yeah.
monetizing this? Right. So give us even that recommendation. What do you suggest when you're emailing and there's not something that you're selling to make it still be valuable, make people want to open it? And how do I discipline myself to make sure I'm writing those, not just when it's time to launch?
Yeah, we recommend basically is two weeks of the month is doing this promotion. With the, one a week is the warm up, 1 week's the full promotion, and then the other
Mhm.
2 weeks is sending out useful content. And there's a whole bunch of ways of doing it. It's like, if you are creating YouTube videos or podcasts, or
Mm.
you're sharing stuff on Instagram or what have you, you can take that content and then that is the thing that you're sharing, and you can
Mhm.
do that every time that you make a new piece of content, point people through to it, or you can do a newsletter once a week that's rounding up, or here's all my content from the week. It's just the crucial part of it is that people have to be feeling like when they see emails from you, the main thing is, oh, I'm going to get something valuable. I want to open this email. So that when the
Mhm.
promotion comes, they're like more used to and trained to open emails from you because they think fondly of you. And
Yeah.
so that is, if you go back to the Robert Cialdini stuff with influence, six reasons why people buy, and one of them is reciprocity. You have to
Mm.
give first before you ask for something from people. And another one is
Right.
authority. Every time that you send out free content that is useful for them, you're building more authority. You're getting people to trust you more. So we're just
Mhm.
trying to basically do that continually as much of the time as possible. And the idea with the nurture promo is you're also doing that in the promotion. So you're
Mhm.
weaving both of those things kind of together.
Yeah. Okay, so let's break down that 2-week sequence. Like you said, the very first week is all about break that down again.
Yeah, so the first week is pain agitation solution. And what we're
Okay.
not trying to do here is we're not trying to sell anything. We're trying to get people to really get that problem clear in their mind. So the
Mm.
problem email, we're bringing that problem that they have to life. Now, they have 1,000 things going on in their life. Let's say we're teaching dog training.
Mhm.
They have a dog and the dog needs more training and it's chewing the furniture or it's peeing on the floor or whatever it is that's if it's peeing on the floor, they probably think about it quite a lot. But if it's pulling on the lead or it's acting up or whatever it is. But they've also got, the kids' parent evening at school, and they've got stuff at work, and they've got all these other things, and they haven't got that, but they aren't really getting that problem clear in their mind. So the first email, we want to talk about that problem and why it matters and bring it to
Mm.
life and tell stories about it. And we're doing this not just because we want to sell them something, but because we want them to really understand the situation that they're in as clearly as possible. And that in and of itself, we're trying to provide value with it so that they go, oh, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that. I'd never really understood it that well. And as the
Mhm.
person selling the course, as the expert in the topic, you are so much more aware of the detail and the nuance and how all of these things fit together than they ever will be. And so you
Mhm.
can help them to understand that situation. And then we're using the Andre Chaperon soap opera sequence kind of approach, trying to set up the next email and say, talk about how the next day we're going to be talking about it in more detail and we're sowing seeds about what we're going to cover in that one. So that agitate email is taking this another level deeper.
Mm.
So here we're talking about not just what the problem is, but how that problem is affecting their life in ways that they almost definitely won't have realized. So let's say we're teaching people about podcasting and how to be a better podcaster. And the person who is reading the email wants to be better at podcasting. And we're going to be selling a course about, let's say, promoting a podcast. When the pain email, you can talk about like how difficult it is promoting it, and you spend all of your time making this amazing podcast and how wonderful it is, and yet you don't have as many listeners as you feel like you should do. And it's like, and that's a normal thing, and other people are feeling this, and make people feel okay about that. But in the agitate one, you talk about why this really is a problem, what
Mm.
this is meaning for their business, what this is meaning for them, why this isn't going to allow them to help as many people as they want to help, why it's not going to allow them to grow their business if that's what they're using the podcast for in the same way. And we are agitating it, and we are like, some people don't like this because it feels like making people feel bad about their current situation. But we're not
Mhm.
trying to do that. What we're trying to do is, like, all marketing tactics can be used unpleasantly, but they also can be
Mhm.
used nicely. What we're trying to do is show somebody this is a problem worth solving. You have got this irritation. You've got this thing going on in your life. This is a problem for you, and it's worth solving. And you probably feel these emotions about it, Well, other people feel this too, and I understand, and it's okay. If you feel that, that's totally understandable. This is solvable. And you know
Mm.
what? Not only is it solvable, but tomorrow, in tomorrow's email, we are going to give you a solution, a small solution, a way of improving this. And that gets people excited. They're like, oh, great, I can do something about this. And we still don't mention that anything is for sale. So then the solution email, what we're trying to do is give them something they can implement in 10 or 15 minutes, where it's going to make it better. Okay, here's a better way to promote your podcast on social media. Or here is a way to promote your podcast to your email list. Or here's a way to get onto other people's podcasts where you might promote your own podcast. And something that they can do and ideally get a result from very quickly as well. So they go, oh, that was cool. What else have you got?
Mm-hmm.
And then in that one, we tell people next week there's going to be a great offer on my full course, which is going to be able to help you solve this problem completely and thoroughly and in detail. And so that all of those 3 emails are about getting people excited about solving this problem. So the next week when the course is on discount, they want to hear about it.
Yeah. Okay. Feels so simple, right? Like, but because it is, and I think this takes some time to be intentional and really get into the mind of your buyer. And this applies across the board with any industry. It's so easy when you're the expert and you have the solution to just want to sell the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And I think setting this up and understanding human psychology and even the buyer types that I know we're going to talk about a little bit when you get into week 2 is what I kind of picked up on when you first explained that. Like, this is stuff we do in our content on social media too. Like, I encourage people to have a blend of those pieces of content. Don't just be selling. In fact, sell very, very little in terms of what you're posting all the time. Have that happen more rarely than just creating problem awareness, creating that agitational content. So this applies across the board. My last technical question for that week, is it literally just 3 emails, or
Mm-hmm.
might you spread out the problem or the pain one over a couple of emails? It's literally just 3 one week and then a few the
That's
next
how
one.
we do it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that feels less daunting too, because you're just thinking, hey, what's one problem that I can hit on as it applies to this program? I'm not having to write and like harp on this over and over. It's just that simple. 3 emails, and then we're setting the stage for next week. Cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
And if anybody's like listening to this and going, it's too much, I can't take all this in, we've got like templates for this and we've got outlines for it that you can just go download and like copy yourself. So if people want to go to datadrivenmarketing.co/resources, there's like templates of this. So
Perfect.
Don't worry,
And
it's like super straightforward.
And we need to put our email in, right?
That's
to get them?
right.
Because...
You do have to put your email address in because I practice what I preach. Yeah.
That's right. Love it. Okay, so going into the next week when this is the
Mm-hmm.
promotional launch, let's talk through those emails now.
Yeah, so the first one is really straightforward. It's an announcement email. We're talking about what is good about this. So it's basically some of the bits from the sales pages. So what's the benefits of this? What's some of the features? What's the bonuses they're going to get included? What are they going to get? Why is this thing great? It isn't everything from the sales page because that would be very long. We're not including frequently asked questions. We're not including testimonials in this one. But it's like what they get and what the benefits are of getting that course. And then the next one, the logic one, is about, because like you said, there's different kinds of buyers. There's some people who will buy based on emotion and some people who will buy more based on logic and data. And most people are a combination of the two, but people will skew more one way or the other. So we have 2 separate emails, one of which is trying to give lots of facts and figures and data and information that people who like that kind of thing can take in. And one is much more talking to the emotion. So we split those 2 up. And the emotion one it depends a bit on what emotions your clients tend to feel about this thing. So what's the main things? Is it procrastination? Are they afraid of doing this kind of thing and getting started with it? Are they worried about how they're going to look? Like, what is it that's their main emotion? And then we're trying to address that and reassure them and say, you know what, this is going to be okay. We have helped people like you. You know, let's say they're worried that, let's say it's about weight loss and someone's like, well, this won't work for me because it's like, okay, that's all right. We've worked with people in your kind of situation before, and we have helped people who are just like you. And we're going to be there to support you through this whole process. There is a very supportive Facebook group. There is going to be coaches answering your question in a group call once a week, whatever it is that you have,
Mhm.
to address that fear that people have, and make sure that they just feel like, okay, this is going to be all right. I think we all go through that, right? So I'm learning bass at the moment, and bass guitar. And I've got a friend who is in a German metal band, and
Mm.
they like headline festivals. And he said to me, "Oh, I'm going to be over in London in July. We should jam together." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if you have a misinterpretation of my skill level compared to your skill level." So there's all of this emotion starts to come up about like, it's just learning to play the bass, right? It's not, I'm not even doing it anywhere, but it's like, because he's coming up with all this emotion going on about it. And it's like, okay, I kind of needs a little bit of calming down here in order
Mhm.
just to be able to get on with the actual technical skill of learning the bass. And so all of this
Yeah.
stuff is going on for people all of the time. And so it's our job to try and help them to just feel a little calmer about going ahead and buying the course and learning this thing.
Hmm. Okay. I love that. I mean, that's one of the most important emails you probably send. All of them are really valuable, but I think that right there of just helping people overcome objections, and I'm assuming these are not super long, right? Like we're not sending
No, like maybe
novels. We're not
200, 200, 300 words, something kind of like that.
okay. All right. And then what comes after that?
Okay, so the ones that I said before was the going, going, gone. There's two that we very often do in the middle. I hadn't known how much detail you wanted to go into, so I'll explain these ones as well now. So these are future casting, which is a very, very powerful email. Frequently asked questions. So that's two
Mm,
separate emails. So future casting is about showing people what their life could be like if they do this.
mm,
So, what's it going to be like in a day, a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months' time if they buy this course and they do the minimum possible? So, instead of doing the 2 hours a day practice, they do 15 minutes a day practice.
mm,
Where are they going to get to? And you know this as the teacher, as the expert in this thing. You know what that future can look like. They don't know. They don't know how long it's
mhm.
going to take, what kind of progress they're going to make, where they're going to be able to get to. But by doing this, you can show them an exciting future possibility. So it's like, in 6 months, this is where you could be. Isn't that cool? Isn't that great? Like, wouldn't it be wonderful to be there? Well, you can get there. What you need to do is get this course and then do this minimum amount of practice.
Yeah.
When we started doing that, adding that email in, we found that we went from having two main spikes during the promotion, one at the very beginning and one at the very end. When we added the future casting email in as well, we got a big spike in the middle too, because
Mm,
that really had a powerful impact on people. So the next one is the frequently asked questions, and again, this is taken from the sales page. So a lot of these bits are bits that are extracted from the sales page, and the idea of this one is not that everybody is going to read this whole email. It's that people have questions and we want to answer all of their questions. So we list out
mhm.
all the questions they might have. And this might be like 2,000 words, this email. Nobody, I don't think, ever reads all of this email. But people do scroll through and they find the answer to their question.
Mm,
And so whatever their question is, they're able to find the answer to that. Would this work if I'm doing this mobility program that you're selling, but I'm in my 70s, is this going to be okay? I've had a hip injury, is this going to be okay? I've had, whatever it is. Everyone's got their own particular concerns, worries, what have you. So we just answer all of those questions. And we've already done that on the sales page, so we just extract that and we put that in there. And then the last three are where actually most of the sales come in, because all of the hard work's been done setting it up, but we
mhm.
need that last push, and that's urgency and scarcity. And going back to Robert Cialdini's influence book, that's the another urgency and scarcity, another of the big reasons why people buy. And in the online course space, it's one of the biggest ones. People
Mhm.
need to have that, like, why should I take action now? Because it's an online course. I could do it anytime. I could learn this skill anytime. There isn't like a real reason why I should do it this week rather than next week, and then they put it off forever.
Yeah.
And so we give a discount normally of 30%. And this is available for that week from that announcement email all the way to the last gone email. And so the first one is reminding people of this is what the offer is. It's got these benefits and it's got these features and just some of the stuff from that announcement email. And then a reminder that it's the discount's going to finish. And then the next one's going to have the same thing, like a reminder the discount's going to finish, but then it'll include some testimonials from the sales page. And then the last one is just saying, seriously, guys, come on. It's going to finish in like 3 hours. This is your last chance. And
Love
that
it.
last day, you get a big spike of people who've all week been reading these emails, looking at the sales page, thinking about it. And they go, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to get it. This is my last chance. I'm going to get this at the discount.
Yep. And it works, you guys. And I think the thing that I love about this is we can set these types of systems up on Evergreen where you just kind of have people come in when they opt in, they have their the timer starts, deadline funnel, those types of things. But I love this because it's literally everybody's on the same timeline. You're not really even having to do anything that complicated. You're not having to use any complicated software if you don't want to. It's literally just, this is the price for everyone in this little micro launch that we're doing via email. And then we just take that down. And now it's back to the normal price or it's back to the original offer. And it's simple, right? So I love that. And I think it's good. I'm glad that you noted this is a great rotation. I do follow people. And now that you've said that, I think about, yeah, they're kind of doing this in their content. They're focusing on a different product, a different course every single month. Their emails support that launch and they're not having to do these huge launches. It's just like leverage the email, like actually use it for what it's there for and don't treat it like it's a twice a year situation, Black Friday and Prime Day and the summertime, whatever it may be. Like Amazon always has promotions. So if you think about it for your own business, you should always have some kind of promo going. And we could sit there and say like, oh yeah, but people get numb to that. They don't. They still buy. There's still something to be said about introducing it, talking about it over and over and over again, and then having some kind of push at the end. So thank you for breaking that down. I'm trying to remember, like after we did this deep dive into the email promo, was there like a final step? Was there another piece of this pie that we were talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So the final part then is how do you actually make more money per sale? And this is actually, it's kind of one of the easiest steps to increase revenue. It's not the most dramatic, because if you're not doing an email promotion and then you do an email promotion, you could make just way more money. But if you're already doing that and you want to add this in, this can add like 40% extra revenue to what you're getting without doing anything else. And that's to have additional offers that people can buy. So one of them is called an order bump. And an order bump is an offer that you have on the checkout page. So as you're checking out, there's a tick box. You can choose to add something else in. And it's normally about a third of the price of the main offer that somebody's selling. And I had a friend who runs a podcast called Authority Hacker, Mark Webster. And he was selling a course. And this course would sell, I think, on discount for like £600, something like that. But he didn't have an order bump. I was like, Mark, man, come on. You got to have something in there. So they built something and they set it up as an order bump. And it was converting, like 42% of people were buying that offer. So 42% of people, and he was selling it for $100. 42% of people who bought the $600 offer bought this $100 offer. And he's like, this is fantastic. This is making us tons of money. And he's like, what should I do now? I was like, try doubling the price. So they doubled the price of it. So now it's $200 instead of $100. Didn't change anything else about it. And the conversion rate went from 42% down to 38%. So it's pretty much the same. Like didn't decrease very far at all. But the revenue per sale is now double. So now they were making like, 6 figures a year or something like that from this this additional offer. And all they had to do was set it up on the checkout page. And all checkout software has this option. If you're selling stuff in e-commerce, if you're selling it on, what's the main one, Shopify, then you can use Zipify, or at least you used to be able to add this option in. Like lots and lots of e-commerce companies do it. If you're going shopping on Amazon or you go shopping on Apple.com and you go to checkout, there will be additional offers for you to get. And once you see it, you go, oh, right, yes, of course. And but if you're not doing it yourself, you're just missing out on like an additional 20% of revenue. And then
it's the same in brick and mortar stores, right? Like while you're in line,
yeah,
especially stores like TJ. I don't know if you probably don't have this in London, but we have like TJ Maxx, these home goods stores, and those lines are long, and the whole line is just more stuff, more little things that are like under $20. That is sometimes where my whole cart gets filled up. It's just in line to buy the one thing. They know what they're doing. So do that digitally. It's sound advice.
Yeah, yeah, for definite. And it's like this is stuff that people have been doing for thousands of years, but somehow a lot of
Mhm.
online business owners kind of just missed it. Didn't
Mhm.
haven't learned to do this.
Yeah.
Um, and I've got I did a podcast episode about this back a couple of years ago. I got a podcast called The Art of Selling Online Courses, and there's I think episode 96. There we go. Episode 96 is about order bumps. So if anyone wants to hear me bang on about order bumps for like 30 minutes,
I mean, I think
really
hearing the
explain it.
revenue, yeah, I think hearing the revenue opportunity is pretty convincing, and I love it. John, thank you so much for
You're
everything.
welcome.
Thanks for deep diving into the email marketing. I needed to hear this was a great lesson for me. I have a list that kind of sits there unless I decide to sell something, and now I feel like I can sell more strategically. Even just knowing like 2 weeks out of the month, and you can go and batch create those. You can go write those emails for the whole quarter and know that you're going to have these mini launches using the promotions in the email. So I appreciate the breakdown. I appreciate just even the breakdown of the sales funnel and how we can leverage our email list better and start to bring in more revenue. So thank you for all of it.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Of course. Okay, I know you mentioned where we can get some of these templates. Anywhere else, where's the best place to connect with you and follow you? Just straight to the website?
Yeah, the podcast is The Art of Selling Online Courses. My YouTube channel is datadrivenmarketing.co/YouTube. Or if people want any of those free resources, it's datadrivenmarketing.co/resources.
Amazing.